MeMonster.
Chapter 226. Tiring. A sound that didn't fit the situation rang out. In that instant, the pain enveloping Rumi's body vanished, and she turned around curiously. The shadow that had been suffocating her remained, hair flowing down like a ghost, eyes staring into space. It looked as if she had just received a message. Was she typing a reply? But the pause lasted only a moment. Kya! The blade, which had stopped briefly, returned even larger. Rumi realized this woman had no intention of letting her live. You should also know that the current seat of Black, Fenrir, is a time bomb. As he gets more famous, more people will dig into his past, and your relationship with him will soon be revealed. The day will come when you, ultimately, have to choose between the former boss and the current seat of Black. The result would be inevitable. Would she seek forgiveness from the seat of Black by betraying the man she once trusted? Or would she finally kill the seat of Black, whom she was supposed to kill long ago? Let me guess. Between the dead and the living, you'll choose the dead again. No answer came from the shadow. Amidst the pain enveloping Rumi's body and the rage from her impending death, Rumi clenched her teeth and cursed. You will, for your boss, end up plucking the lotus flower. Those were her last words. A blow struck her spine, and her body dissolved into a current and vanished. Rumi had now died once. At the same time, the barrier surrounding them faded. The back alley of the vessel fell silent. Only one shadow remained. Boss's head throbbed. What she had just heard was an unexpected shock. It was surely nonsense. When did she become so weak? Boss sighed and turned on her messenger. Boss, come to Area 3 at 9. Let's have breakfast together. The message was from Kim Hajin. I should have turned the notification off. Boss muttered inwardly as she read the message and recalled Rumi's last words. You will, for your boss, end up plucking the lotus flower. But she soon shook her head and brushed the thought aside. There's no way. There was not even a slight possibility that would happen. It was nothing but an ominous curse. That I would betray you. You may betray me, but I could never betray you. With a low whisper, she disappeared into the deep darkness. 15th floor, a fancy restaurant in Genkelop's vessel. So, does that mean you already bought the 20th floor tickets, Miss Eileen? You could say that. In fact, yes, I did. Eileen replied proudly, stuffing herself with dessert pudding. In front of her sat Kim Suho and Yu Yen Ha, and next to her was Shin Jung-hak. The four had met by chance today. First, Kim Suho ran into Yu Yen Ha on his way to a local ramen restaurant and greeted her. Yu Yen Ha, who was originally heading to the ramen place, pretended to go to a fancy restaurant nearby instead. But Kim Suho, oblivious, followed Yu Yen Ha, and the pair ran into Eileen and Shin Jung-hak at the restaurant. All four of my party members have their train tickets, all first class. Oh, and none of us are doppelgangers, so don't worry. Eileen suddenly recalled the day she fought the doppelganger on the 20th floor. Because spirit speech didn't work on another spirit speech user of the same level, their fight devolved into a brawl. The two Eileens each tried to show off their combat techniques. Pa-pa-pa! They stretched their short legs and feet systematically. But the result was just a catfight, pulling each other's hair, and Eileen finally defeated the doppelganger with all her effort. A battle with the doppelganger sounds difficult, Kim Suho, who'd been listening intently, remarked. It's difficult, but not impossible. The doppelganger is less skilled. You should learn to use your skills at the right moment. Shin Jung-hak, who had been quiet, explained. What's this? You're giving him advice now, Shin Jung-hak? Yu Yen Ha remarked softly, but Shin Jung-hak didn't answer. He just moved his fingers quickly, as if texting someone. Yu Yenha shrugged and looked away from Shinjong-hak. Kim Suho asked, "By the way, was the 15th floor vessel always like this? I heard it was a mess at first." "Yeah, everything was a mess in the beginning." Tuck. Eileen finished her pudding and put the spoon down. At that moment, the waiter arrived with the main dish. "This vessel is divided into different areas, Area 1 to Area 9. Area 1 to Area 6 have been restored to normal. Area 7, 8, and 9 are still full of alien creatures. You probably know about them. It's hard to miss those gross-looking things." Kim Suho and Yu Yenha nodded. Eileen went on. "At first, those things were everywhere. Then suddenly a bunch of NPCs came and took over Area 1, which I had claimed. Then they brought in an AI and changed the ship into this. Area 1 was originally mine." Eileen pouted and glanced at the pudding in front of Kim Suho. Since Kim Suho didn't like sweets, his pudding was untouched. "Aren't you going to eat that?" Eileen asked finally. No." Kim Suho handed her the pudding. Only then Eileen picked up her spoon again. Squish, squish. She took a bite, put it in her mouth, and shuddered slightly. This flavor is different from mine." Seeing Eileen's happy murmuring, Yu Yenha asked, "But did you get a proper reward?" I did." Eileen nodded and took out a black card. "This is the VVIP card for the 15th floor. Anything here can be used with this card. So, except for a few things, everything is free." Kim Suho and Yu Yenha widened their eyes and stared at it. Eileen puffed out her chest proudly. "I'll pay for the food today, so don't worry." "Wow, thank you." "Anyway, hurry up and come to the 20th floor. Apparently the train needs at least 100 passengers." Just then, the restaurant door opened, and two men in neat suits approached their table. Tuck, tuck. As everyone in the restaurant watched, they politely called out a name. "Are you the player, Yu Yenha Yenha?" "Pardon?" Yu Yenha caught off guard, tilted her head with a fork in her mouth. "I invited Yu Yenha to the VVIP room in Area 3. I had promised to meet her once she arrived on the 15th floor, and I had an appointment with Athena today." "Where are we? You must have made it big." Yu Yenha pouted as she entered the VVIP room. The VVIP room built just for me was perfect. It wasn't just the luxurious interior and convenient furniture. I didn't have to lift a finger here. The AI did everything. "So, we finally meet in the tower?" "First, sit down. Have you eaten?" "I got dragged out halfway." Yu Yenha grumbled and sat down. Unlike her, I stood up and headed to the kitchen. "What are you doing?" "I'm going to make special ramen for you." "You said you didn't eat." "I was going to make special ramen for Yu Yenha." "Just wait a little." Da-da-da-da-da. My hands moved at an undetectable speed. Yu Yenha sighed as she watched me make the sauce and remove the head from an anchovy.
"I can see what you're making, but I've already told you I'm not into that kind of food. Isn't it about time you got honest? Rather than that, what's your nickname? Add me as a friend." Yu Yun-ha pulled up her friend list. I was putting the sauce into the boiling water when I paused. Nickname. My nickname, Extra 7. Can I really tell Yu Yun-ha? I wondered, then gave in. "Extra 7, add me." "Eh? That's you?" But it seemed Yu Yun-ha already knew my nickname. I glanced at her and saw she was surprised. I didn't know exactly how my nickname spread, but I had a good guess. Since Yu Yun-ha knew how to keep a secret, I probably didn't need to worry. "You've heard of me? Where and how?" "Yes, though not in detail. Na-yoon told me herself. I'm probably the only one she told. She said Extra 7 was the person who saved her. Plus, your nickname is quite famous. I heard you came in first in the first tutorial." I nodded silently. Meanwhile, the ramen finished cooking. I moved some noodles to a plate and placed it in front of Yu Yun-ha. Suddenly, Yu Yun-ha asked, "Is Na-yoon still the one for you? You've been watching over her from afar." Her voice, filled with bitterness and envy, stopped me. I recalled the past. How did I feel about Chai Na-yoon back then? What I felt was probably affection. I was human, and I was lonely. Humans lived by relying on others, and a human without someone to rely on ceased to be human. Back then, I had wanted to become human. I don't know. But that was all I said. Yu Yoon-ha didn't ask any more questions. "I have an appointment now, so I need to go. Add me as a friend and have some ramen. Also, take this." I handed Yu Yoon-ha a card. It was the Black Express card, usable in almost all facilities on the 15th floor for free. "Eh? How do you have this?" I answered with gusto. "This ship belongs to me." What? Don't lie." "I'm leaving now. You can relax here tonight." "Wait, hold on." I left Yu Yoon-ha puzzled and stepped outside. But I only had to walk a few steps before I saw the administrator, Athena, standing nearby. "Oh, Athena-nim, right here." "Greetings." "Yes." Before we got down to business, I glanced back. Yu Yoon-ha was sitting alone eating ramen. Slurp, slurp. She was gobbling it up. It looked like she had been holding back with superhuman patience while talking to me. "My business is simple. Barter." "Huh?" Athena quickly continued. "Barter?" "That's right. I want one of the black arrows you used last time." "Ah, those." It wasn't surprising she wanted them. She was, after all, the goddess of war. But I put a lot of effort into making them. Still, they were the result of hundreds of synthesis and setting modification. I wasn't about to give them away easily. Level 11, Athena's Moonlight Arrow. "You can have it." The moment I saw the arrow Athena offered, I took out a level 9 Dark Ore arrow from my inventory. Items over level 10 were in a league of their own. They were much more powerful, and now wasn't the time to dwell on the past. Even if I gave one away, I'd still have 4 left. It wasn't a precious memory. "Thank you. This is all I needed." I exchanged a Dark Ore arrow for Athena's Moonlight Arrow. As soon as I received it, I examined it closely. The shaft glowed with moonlight, and the arrowhead looked like carved meteorite. It was, of course, more beautiful and incredible than the arrow made from dark ore. "I shall have another talk with you in the future. Please do survive." "Oh, I will, thanks to this." I even followed Athena to see her off. 20th floor, Station of the End. It looks like we're approaching the end. Right, this place is called Station of the End after all. 1 year is pretty long. But what will happen to the tower once our climb is over? Will it still be here? I hope so. A person dear to me is here. He's going out with an NPC leader? Hey, NPCs are real people. 3 weeks later. Today, a crowd of passengers waited for the train to arrive on the 20th floor platform. Desolate Moon, Essence of the Strait, Frost Sanctuary, Rothschild, Empire of Glory, English Royal Court Guild, Kim Soo-ho, Lee Young-han, Kim Jun-woo, Eileen, Jin Se-yun, Kim Hak-po, and more. There were a couple hundred people at a glance. So tense. I glanced around and muttered. Most players in the top 500 seemed to be here. Did I hand out the strategy guide too easily? I felt a bit nervous. "Hey, doesn't your body feel itchy already?" Chek Jong-yoon asked. I shot him a glare. "Didn't I tell you that fighting on the train will get you kicked out immediately?" I know. It's just itchy. I just have to scratch it." Chek Jung-yoon sulked and scratched his lower back. "Oh, by the way, I heard 2 more Chameleon Troop members are here. Kaita already died twice." "What just is that Kaita up to? He's always dying. Pathetic." What Jae-in said was familiar. The fight between Zarahan and Kim Suho had been delayed, but the Ordinary People's Alliance, which tried to take over Prestige, finally collapsed 2 weeks ago. The train to the 21st floor will arrive soon. Everyone please step back. Suddenly, an announcement sounded. The 403 rankers on the platform nervously formed a line, and the 4 Chameleon Troop members gathered together. The train to the 21st floor will arrive soon. Everyone please stand in line and board the train. This train was designed to quickly end the tower arc. It could take us straight to the 26th floor. But I couldn't let my guard down. A lot had changed. The train is now arriving at the station. Chwa! A loud cry rang out. The train swallowed every sound and rushed in. Players stood on the platform watching the massive train storm in from the end of the tracks. The train, so huge it nearly blocked out the sky, finally arrived and released a violent burst of steam. Geek! The train came to a stop, and silence filled the station. The crowd waited. Tzzz. As if to meet their expectations, the train door opened quickly. The NPC that appeared was an attendant who looked like a mannequin. Welcome, players. Please check your tickets and enter the aisle marked on your ticket. Aisle 1 is for A class. Aisles 2 through 4 are for B class. First, A class, please board the train. Team Chameleon Troop was in A class. We entered aisle 1 together. I could feel the competitive glares from other players on our backs. Ticket confirmed. The attendant inside checked our tickets and we moved to the A-Class VIP suite. As A-Class passengers, we had an entire compartment to ourselves. Wow, it's so big! The train uses space expansion magic. There should be things like a sports field and a club. I'll definitely visit the club later. Jane grinned and sat on the sofa. I sat near her and glanced at Boss. Just looking at Boss made me uncomfortable. I couldn't help but stare, even though she was just sitting still. It was probably because of synchronization. Hajin, why do you keep glancing like that? Huh? Boss, he keeps glancing at you. He must like you.
Boss raised her head and looked at me with an expressionless face. She stared for a while and then said just one thing. Don't. Ah, yes. Meanwhile, the boarding process ended as all doors slammed shut. Now that we didn't have to mingle with other players, we relaxed. Cheok Jong Yong lay on a bed, Jin Yohan opened a magazine, and Jain and Boss browsed the community together. Then, suddenly, whoa! Oh my! We just checked and there are a total of 403 passengers on board! That's so many! As the captain, I am truly happy. Yes, I am. A frivolous voice echoed down. To commemorate this occasion, we'll hold a special event, the Mystery Shuffle. What is this? Starting now, your seats will be switched randomly, but rest assured, your name, face, and nickname will all be hidden under the veil of anonymity. Oh, of course, others can remove your veil, and you may also remove it yourself. What is happening? My body shot up like a spring. But please be careful, there are doppelgangers on board. Remember the 20th floor. The doppelgangers who have taken over the original owner's bodies will try to take your lives. What? However, we also despise the doppelgangers. We only want players as passengers. Therefore, we'll offer prizes to players based on the number of doppelgangers they defeat. The prizes are 2 ultimate skill books and 3 unique skill books.
I was about to say something about the unexpected event, but suddenly my seat and the view before my eyes changed.
Now, all players will be summoned somewhere between aisle 3 and aisle 8. The time limit for this event is 36 hours.
Chapter 227. Team Eileen and the kids had their own compartment and were enjoying their private time in a carefree manner. Xinjiang Hawk practiced his spear in the spacious reception room, while Yi Yang Ha slept on one of the beds. I wonder what's going to happen. Even the team leader, Eileen, saw the train as just an exciting event, not something that could determine life or death. The only one thinking seriously was Jin Seon. Jin Seon carefully studied the pamphlet that came with their A-class ticket. According to this pamphlet, the train will stop on each floor once. Players can't just sit and do nothing, so it says they need to pay an appropriate price. Ding! A sudden ringing interrupted Jin Seon. She looked up to see Eileen holding a plate of chocolate cake, apparently bought as an in-train snack. When Eileen noticed Jin Seon's glare, she let out an awkward cough. Kuhum, right. Oh, also, look at the size of this train. It's huge. But I just got a message that the train is completely full. You mean there are other NPCs riding on the train? Jin Seon quickly understood Eileen's point. Something might happen in Krevon while all the rankers are gone. Yep, exactly. So the question is, how many rankers will be disqualified on this train? Oh, you still have the Calamity Core, right? Yes. Eileen's party had obtained a Calamity Core from killing the Minotaur. Jin Seon used this core to differentiate players from doppelgangers. The Calamity Core throbbed faster as it neared anything classified as a calamity by the tower, making it useful on the upper floors. Then it's fine. We aren't the type to be disqualified so easily, or be too attached to Krevon. I nodded, then suddenly wondered about something. Lady Eileen, how did the fight with your doppelganger go? Eh? I'm just curious. Eileen fell into thought, a fork hanging from her mouth. The fight with the doppelganger, 3 weeks ago. This spear of magic power will pierce your body. Eileen shouted at her doppelganger. The doppelganger fought back. No, that's not going to happen. The opposite will. And the real Eileen struck back. No, it's going to be the opposite of what you say is the opposite. What does that even mean, you idiot? My physical stats will now receive a 100% buff. No, that doesn't make sense. I command it with my spirit speech. That cannot happen. You eat dirt. Yeah, no, I won't. It was an elegant, proud battle. Eileen summarized the fight in a single sentence. In truth, there was a simple reason spirit speech users rarely fought each other. I don't believe you. Why not? As they wasted time, a cheerful voice rang out from the ceiling speaker. Whoa! Oh my! We just checked, and there are a total of 403 passengers on board. That's so many! As the captain, I am truly happy. Yes, I am! You have been moved to a random seat. My body shifted through space with a strange sensation. Although sudden, I wasn't worried, since I could see through everyone's identity. Ooh! From the A-class special compartment, I was moved to aisle 8's last compartment. But being farther from the special compartment didn't mean this place was worse. In fact, it was larger than all the other modern special compartments combined. This compartment was divided in half by a central hallway, each half with 4 couches. 8 players were summoned here. At first, I couldn't see their faces or figures, but they became clear when I focused. With the gift Observation and Reading, I alone could see their faces. In the left half were Kim Hak Pyo, Jin Seon, and a ranker I didn't know. In the right half were 3 unknown rankers and... What's going on? A girl with a bob cut looking around with wide eyes. It was Che Dayun. Her hair was a bit redder than before. She must have dyed it since I last saw her. This event is supposed to give skill books, right? I wasn't really paying attention. We're supposed to kill the doppelgangers, but how are we supposed to tell them apart? Don't they just want us to fight to the death? Each player voiced their opinion. After everyone spoke, Jin Seon, who had been sitting quietly, stepped up. Hello everyone. Why don't we introduce ourselves? I immediately stood up. Everyone's eyes turned to me as I grabbed the doorknob leading outside. Clunk, clunk. As expected, the door didn't open. All 8 people must come to an agreement before the door can be opened. Staying here didn't seem like a good option. I wanted to look for other Chameleon True members, but that seemed impossible. Or could I use the Mystic Key to force the door open? That was risky. Even if it worked, the others would chase after me. With my physical stats, I couldn't outrun Jin Se-an and Chain Ayan. All 8 people must come to an agreement before the door can be opened. Since they can't recognize me, I'll just sit still until this is resolved. I decided and returned to my seat. You're in a hurry, hehehe. Kim Hak-pyo snickered, while Chain Ayan stared at me intently. She shouldn't know who I was, but her gaze was intimidating. Now, don't go anywhere. Let's talk. Jin Se-an took control and grabbed my wrist. I played along. Are you a man? What answer are you looking for? I didn't answer. Jin Se-an smiled, let go of my wrist, and stood up. Everyone, no matter your name or where you're from, what we should focus on is finding which among us are doppelgangers. So please, let's sit together and talk. What's sitting together going to accomplish? Kim Hak-pyo complained, crossing his arms arrogantly. I wish the veil of Anonymous worked on me so I wouldn't have to see his smug face. I know an easy way to distinguish doppelgangers from players, Jin Se-an said with confidence. No matter her idea, fighting her here would only draw suspicion. Even doppelgangers would have to go along with it and figure out her plan first. So the 8 of us sat in a circle. Chain Ayan was next to me, but I didn't mind. I stayed calm. So what's this easy way? Chain Ayan asked. It's simple. Jin Se-an's voice was full of confidence. Wing! She fiddled with something and pulled out a table hidden in the floor. Then she took out 8 scrolls and placed them on it. What's this? Scrolls. Exactly. Jin Se-an smiled. I quickly checked the scroll's information with my smartwatch and realized her plan. But to doppelgangers, they're not just scrolls. Kim Hak-pyo, who also figured it out, nodded. The other 5 waited for Jin Se-an to continue. These scrolls can only be used by players. Aha! With that, everyone understood. Scrolls that only players could use. Doppelgangers couldn't. Her plan was rational and well thought out. As the one who came up with this plan, I'll take off my veil to gain your trust. Jin Se-an boldly removed the veil of Anonymous. Her long, silky hair fluttered, and her dazzling beauty was revealed. She looked at me and smiled. Whoa, it's Senior Jin Se-an. The surprised exclamation came from Chain Ayan.
Now pick up a scroll and check its description. You'll see it clearly states that only players can use them. When players wore the veil of anonymity, even their items were masked. But since Jin Se-an revealed herself, everyone could read the scroll's description. She's right. That's exactly what the scroll says. Then do you agree? What is there to argue? Anyone who says no is clearly a doppelganger. As expected of an executive of evil society, Kim Hak-pyo boldly tore his scroll in half. Listen well. You aren't forcing me to do this. I'm doing it of my own volition. He tore the scroll in half without even checking the description. I had to admit, he was pretty cool. Plop. That is, until his body turned into a frog. Ribbit. What? Ribbit. What the hell is this? Transformed into a cute green frog, Kim Hak-pyo stuck out his tongue in anger. Ribbit, yet you, Ribbit, say something if one of the scrolls had an effect like this, Ribbit. You should have checked the scroll's description first. Ribbit, are you messing with me, Ribbit? I went next. To avoid any mishaps, I picked an ordinary scroll. I'll go next. Rip, I tore it in half and sat back down. I'm next. Chae Nayun stood up and finished the task easily. Another ranker I didn't know went next, making 5 who had completed the check. But 3 refused to stand up. Ribbit,
Looks like we have our answer, Ribbit. Even a frog could see who they were. I didn't know any of the three rankers. Since a unanimous agreement was needed to open the door, the doppelgangers had only one choice left. Their magic power surged. Damn it! They charged at us. Although they were rankers, not all rankers were equal. Chae Na-yoon and Jin Se-on were in the top 30, and Kim Hak-pyo, even as a frog, was strong. What? But for some reason, all three charged at me, who was standing far behind everyone else. Whish! One swung his fist. Suddenly, other fists appeared from the air. I didn't have time to admire the skill. The magic power in the fist was dangerous. Why me? I blocked the fist with Aether's help and readied for close combat. I let Aether take control. My arms stretched, my body turned, my waist bent like a machine. With our advantage, it didn't take long to defeat the doppelgangers. Cook. Jin Se-on finished them with her arrow. Are you okay? Yes. I wasn't hurt and had no complaints, but Chae Na-yoon stared at me strangely, so I shot back curtly. Can't you see I'm not hurt? You stole my kill. Jin Se-on's cheeks puffed up slightly. What? No, nothing. My apologies. Eventually, Jin Se-on bowed and I let out an awkward cough. Come. By the way, how did hero Jin Se-on know doppelgangers couldn't use scrolls? Chae Na-yoon asked. Jin Se-on smiled and shook her head. I didn't know. I've never tested it, but I wouldn't be surprised if they could. Eh? Then you can call it a bluff. Haha. If the doppelgangers were smarter and bolder, I'm not sure it would have worked. Hearing this, my admiration for Jin Se-on grew. Even as the original author, I didn't know if doppelgangers could use scrolls. The situation never came up in the original novel, and I never wrote more than necessary. Of course, I did know a clear way to tell doppelgangers apart. They couldn't return to Earth. Then can we open the door now? Kim Hak-pyo asked. He had turned back into a human before I noticed. Sure, but let's stick together since we don't know what happened in the other compartments. There might still be a doppelganger among us, though the probability is low. I've been watching everyone's expressions, and no one hesitated while tearing their scroll. I get it, so open the door. Kim Hak-pyo walked up to the tightly shut door. Jin Se-on nodded. Does everyone agree? Yes. With everyone in agreement, the door opened and we left the compartment. Aisle 8. The pathways connecting train compartments were usually narrow, but not on this train. This pathway was a lush forest, much larger than the compartment. The floor was dirt, as if we were in another world, and we could hear water running in a stream. Where should we go next, Jin Se-on? I'm not sure. We should figure out how to open the door to the next pathway. Oh, oops, there's a rock here. At that moment, Kim Hak-pyo kicked a rock under his foot. Whoosh! That tiny rock, charged with his magic power, arced into Aisle 8's ventilation window. Immediately, Kim Hak-pyo switched places with the rock. Ha ha ha! So long, idiots! His voice rang out from the ceiling. The four of us were left dumbstruck, especially me. Kim Hak-pyo was supposed to be a charismatic villain who shined in the latter half of the novel, so why was he like this? What skill is that? If I remember right, it's called phase shift. I think I know who he is. Anyway, since we don't have that skill, let's just do things our way. We walked forward with Jin Se-on in the lead. Unknowingly, I found myself next to Chae Na-yoon again. Being so close, I couldn't help but glance at her from time to time. At one point, Chae Na-yoon looked at me. I quickly dodged her gaze, but she didn't look away. Her eyes stayed on my face for a long time. Minutes passed in uncomfortable silence. Oh, look! A flower! Chae Na-yoon suddenly squatted down. I wasn't surprised. I glanced at her, then kept walking. Honestly, I wanted to run away like Kim Hak-pyo. Tack. But Chae Na-yoon suddenly grabbed my wrist. At that instant, it felt like time stopped. What?
Her lips moved slowly. That short moment felt like a year. "Do you know what flower this is?" Thankfully, it was just a simple question. I breathed a sigh of relief. "Check its item description." "But I can't see it." I frowned and looked at the flower. Level 1, question mark, question mark, question mark. She was right. Was the veil of anonymity blocking information like this? I checked my smartwatch. It was a forget-me-not. It's a forget-me-not. "Oh, so this is a forget-me-not. You're quite knowledgeable." "Let me go now." I tried to leave. Jin Seon and the other ranker were already far ahead, making this the perfect chance. With the mystic key, my escape would be smooth. Let go! But no matter how much strength I used, Chae Na-yoon wouldn't let go. "What are you doing?" I stared at my wrist, then slowly looked up. Chae Na-yoon was staring at me intently. My heart trembled, my eyes blurred as if a camera lens was out of focus. What? No, nothing. Her grip weakened, and I shook off her hand. At the same time, a quiet voice rang out. "I just thought you were someone I knew." The faint voice reached my ears and shook my heart. I stood still for a moment. Seeing me speechless, Chae Na-yoon asked, "Do you know who I am?" "I don't know what you're talking about, but don't make things up. We can't see our faces or even distinguish our voices with the veil of anonymity, so that's a meaningless question." I cut her off and turned away. But before I could take a few steps, her words froze me in place. "Kim Hajin."
My heart went numb. The moment I heard my name, my mind blanked. I didn't even wonder if my veil was off or if she had some authority. I was simply overwhelmed by a suffocating sensation. In the thick silence, where only my heartbeat echoed, a trembling voice burst out. "Did you think I wouldn't notice?" I swallowed. I tried to calm my trembling body. Then I turned around, silently. She stood in front of me. She shouldn't be able to see me. Even so, she had recognized me. Soon, Chae Na-yoon took off her veil. The veil didn't matter to me, as I could distinguish faces and voices anyway. But Chae Na-yoon must have had strong determination. Her eyes glared at me, cold and confident in her suspicion. Her gaze seemed to pierce through me. "It is you." We had both matured since we last met, but I hadn't prepared any words for this reunion. No, maybe I had, but the words I could use now were as pitiful as me. "How did you recognize me?" "You think I wouldn't?" Chae Na-yoon gave a twisted laugh. "I spent all these years thinking about you half the time." Tears filled her eyes, but didn't fall, as if frozen. "You always look at your watch whenever something happens." So that's how she found out. I lowered my head and smiled bitterly. "Your strange actions, manner of speech, the tiniest habits, and the way you breathe." The metallic sound of a sword unsheathing rang out as Chae Na-yoon drew her sword. I remember them all too well. Chae Na-yoon's complicated eyes captured my figure. In them, I was completely expressionless, completely black. I should at least show myself. I smiled bitterly and put my hand on my face. I felt something like a mask. I grabbed it and pulled hard. The veil covering me shot up into the sky. "Hey," I spoke. "It's been a while." In front of me was Chae Na-yoon.
Chapter 228. There was a lot he wanted to say, a lot he should say, but he didn't know where to start. He had expected to run into her someday. He didn't plan on running away forever. But he hadn't prepared any excuse or pretext either. It's been a while. She had a lot to say to the man who finally offered her a plain greeting. She also had a lot of feelings she wanted to pour out. But her thoughts were all jumbled inside her head. "You're goddamn right. It's been a while. She looked at the man she used to like, the lump of emotions in her heart, the affection she had for him, the questions and the hatred beat violently. The icy clang of her sword cut through the awkward atmosphere. She pointed her long sword at him, raising it against the man who once said, "A sword suits you better than a bow." His indifferent face, once engraved in her heart, was now at the tip of her blade. "I have a lot of questions to ask." She wanted to sound nonchalant, but the lump in her throat made her voice tremble, and she hated her own weakness. He looked her straight in the eye. There was a lot he hadn't told her, a lot he couldn't say. What he couldn't say in the past, he couldn't say now. Though he might seem he had changed, he hadn't. He was still scared and lost between two worlds. "I've thought about it every night." And because she knew that, she raised her sword. Her magic power clung to the blade and blazed up. A torrent of magic raged in all directions. "Sure, I'm not the brightest, but I still can't figure it out, even after all these nights." A tear ran down her cheek. "I still don't understand." She didn't say much. Thousands of sentences were condensed into one. Overwhelming emotions were trapped in a single sentence. "So tell me yourself in a way that I can understand." Her firm determination was clear in the sword she lifted. "Speak!" He understood her. But after all his contemplation and mental anguish, he knew the only thing he could say right now was, "Wait." This cowardly remark. "Wait for what?" She let out a laugh, simply dumbfounded for a moment. Life had been hard on her. She didn't feel alive, didn't have a reason to live. She thought about ending her life, but she didn't because she had to wait. Wait for him to tell her the truth someday. "You're gonna run away again?" She clenched her teeth. When her sadness choked her, she could have been comforted by Chae-Shin-hyuk. Her father was prepared to abandon everything, even Dae-sang, for her sake. When her rage blinded her, she could have consulted Chae-Cho-chul. Her grandfather would have found Kim Hajin and torn him apart. But she refused all those options and endured it all alone. She carried her rage, her sadness, her affection, her hatred on her shoulders, just so she could hear him tell the truth someday. "I'm not running away," he answered calmly, in a voice she still remembered. "Then take out your weapon. I'll beat the truth out of you if I have to." At her words, he took out his gun. She nodded heavily. "Be serious, or I'll kill you." A cold mutter. She lowered her long sword diagonally. Sss. Immeasurable magic power blazed up from her body like vapor, and from the sword. She was ready to strike at any second. "You shouldn't have said what you just said." With that, her body leapt forward. Her intent to kill was sincere, and the magic in her sword danced viciously as it changed shape. Tss. The blade burned silently as it moved towards his side, but Aether's barrier blocked its path. The formless Aether absorbed her magic power through extraction, but she wasn't taken aback. She didn't have time to be. She continued to swing her sword, once, twice, thrice. The series of reckless attacks were fueled only by emotion. They weren't even fit to be called sword techniques. She kept slashing, so he wouldn't notice the tears streaming down her cheeks. Her attacks poured down like rain, accompanied by devastation and explosions. Goom, 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 goom. Suddenly there was a low groan. She held her breath and stopped. Beyond the vision blurred by tears, she saw a man whose face was twisted in pain. His body was in tatters, and Chae Na-yoon only now realized the gun in his hand hadn't fired a single bullet. She stared at him blankly. Her thoughts wouldn't continue, as if her brain had frozen. Her hands were shaking. But why? Was it because she hurt him? But soon she tightened her grip on her sword. "You coward!" This time she didn't keep any distance between them. She ran frantically towards the man on the other side who was still deceiving her. Koom! The sword, which swerved 180 degrees right in front of him, was extremely destructive. He raised his arm and stopped the blade. Crack! Despite Aether's defense, his arm snapped in half. Why? She yelled and kicked him. The kick landed on his stomach, and he was sent flying. The sight of him holding his chest as he lay on the floor was pathetic. But he crawled back up and stood in front of her again. She hated that. So with her sword in her hand, she jumped at him. Their hands intertwined, so did their bodies. The hard ground below turned into a puddle, and finally... She breathed heavily as she looked down at him. He was below her, worn out, and the sword was in her hand. The fight was over, but she was still enraged at the lingering aftertaste. "You son of a bitch!" Her voice trembled, filled with rage, and she grabbed him hard by the collar. "Do you think doing this will make me forgive you? By just letting me beat you up? You bastard!" As he watched her murmur full of resentment, a thought crossed his mind. "I can never be forgiven, nor can I apologize, but at least I can spare one death for her." I felt relieved by the thought, and also disgusted at myself for thinking so. "Do you even know what happens to me when I think about you?" Her cry continued. "My chest feels tight and my heart hurts. I want to see you, but I can't. I want to meet you, but I don't. I want to trust you, but I don't. I really want to hate you, enough to kill you with my own hands, but I can't do it. You hurt me so much that I want you by my side. Just what did you do to me?" She picked up the sword from the ground and raised it high. Now his heart was at the tip of her sword. One single thrust and their ill-fated relationship would be over. But one fact made her hesitate. Death was absolute on the 20th floor. But even so, I can kill you. I can! She cried as if asking him to dodge while looking down at Kim Hajin. Kim Hajin's eyes were still fixed on her. A bestial cry resounded. She thrust her sword down hard. Crack! Cold silence replaced the violent storm of emotions. Small, thin breathing filled the space. Fuck! She let go of the sword and collapsed forward. Her forehead touched his warm chest. "There's no way that I can kill you." She trembled in his arms, crying sorrowfully. "You cowardly son of a bitch."
A raspy sound emerged from her mouth. The slight tremor that touched his body almost broke him. It was a shock that shook his heart. Meanwhile, Jin Se-yeon was standing in front of the 6th door of aisle 8. She wasn't alone, but with a ranker whose name was unknown. This ranker, a man, kept glancing at Jin Se-yeon as if he had something to say, then finally decided to speak out when Jin Se-yeon grabbed the doorknob. The other two disappeared. Really? Jin Se-yeon pretended she hadn't noticed and glanced behind. Her vision stretched far and saw the pair in the middle of a violent brawl. They were Kim Hajin and Chae Na-yoon, both unveiled. Jin Se-yeon had known who they were for a while. As the divine archer, she could dismantle a number of the tower's traps. She had been keeping her eye on them even as she walked. Wait a minute. Since she was peeking on them, she decided to do it thoroughly. She focused her magic power around her eyes, turning them blue. Now, Chae Na-yoon and Kim Hajin were reflected on her retina even more clearly. I see. She was already aware of Chae Na-yoon and Kim Hajin's relationship from the rumors. "I really want to hate you, enough to kill you with my own hands, but I can't do it. You hurt me so much that I want you by my side." But from the looks of it, the rumors were wrong. Those emotions were far too deep for a relationship that ended as just a fling. She quickly glanced to the side. Fortunately, the ranker was only vaguely aware of what was happening through the obvious clash of magic power and the sound of air being cut.
It looks like they're busy, so let's just move along. This man didn't have the ability to listen in on them. Jin Se-yeon decided to stand down. Her goal was the skill book, so her top priority right now was to reunite with Aileen. I was lying still. I wasn't sure how much time passed. It could have been only a moment, or it could have been very long. But I came back to my senses when I heard footsteps approaching me. What approached me swiftly like the wind soon became a shadow. The dark shadow then took on the shape of a human, and she silently stared at me, covered in blood and barely breathing. Boss. Boss stretched her shadow before I could say anything else. The shadow blade stopped at the back of Chae Na-yoon's head, who was on top of me. Boss looked at me with eyes filled with rage and questions. I said briefly, "Put it away." Boss gazed at me in silence. A staring contest began unexpectedly, but she soon withdrew her killing intent, and I put Chae Na-yeon down on the ground. She had fallen asleep as soon as she finished crying, which left me distressed. Boss looked at Chae Na-yeon and asked, "Who is this woman?" I stared down at the woman who was sound asleep, blood and tears clumped together on her face. Suddenly, the aftermath of my past mistake came back to me like a sharp blade and pierced my heart. I swallowed a sigh and took my robe off. 3 years. I made up my mind after seeing her today. 3 years. The time left in the original timeline. My original plan was to continue letting myself be hated by her until then. But now I decided otherwise. Though it was far too late, I realized that hating someone was extremely difficult. I had unknowingly put Chae Na-yeon through tremendous pain. Even if the result turns out to be an imperfect understanding, even if we can never be what we were in the past, even if it's too late, I'll try from now on. So, wait a little bit. I bent my knees and placed my robe over Chae Na-yeon's cold body. Using stigma, I cooled her head, which was boiling hot from spending too much magic power, and adjusted her to a more comfortable position. "Kim Hajin?" At that moment, Boss called me. I looked up at her, and she asked, worriedly, "What happened?" I shook my head and stood up. We were inside the last compartment of aisle 8, which meant it was unlikely anyone would find Chae Na-yeon here and harm her. As such, I left her there and walked. Boss followed me in silence. She seemed to be wondering about what happened, but I was too exhausted to explain. My body was telling me to go lie down just like Chae Na-yeon, that continually moving wasn't something a human should do. That woman? I was in search of a place to rest as my body commanded when Boss broke the silence. "Is she, precious to you?" Why did she want to know that? I clutched my burning head in my hands. I was feverish in all parts of my body. Rather than answering a question like that, I needed to find a place to rest. Fortunately, we had arrived at the next compartment. I opened the door with the mystic key. No one was inside. I sat down sluggishly on the couch. "Kim Hajin." Boss sat next to me and called me, worry in her voice. "Yes, what is it?" "It's nothing. Looks like I wasn't being considerate. Rest well for now." When I saw Boss step back, slightly sullen, something inside me wavered. My heart throbbed and shook my whole body. It was a compulsion of unknown origin, the influence of nameless emotions. I forced my exhausted body to move. My body moved as if it wasn't my own, and I stared at Boss. "Boss." I know. Know what? A single sentence came out of my mouth. I was the one who brought me to the orphanage. At that moment, my vision darkened, my consciousness blurred, and my entire body collapsed forward.
Chapter 229. Isn't this Chae Na-yeon? While sleeping under a comfortable blanket, Chae Na-yeon heard a familiar voice. Startled, she opened her eyes wide. Whoa! She saw 2 faces in front of her. "What are you doing here?" "I can't believe you were sleeping." It was Yi Young-han and Kim Soo-ho. They looked down at her laughing. Their faces weren't hidden. She wasn't sure if it was because Mystery Shuffle had ended or if they had simply taken off their veils. What are you guys doing here? What do you mean? The shuffle is almost over. We're looking for our teammates right now. Che Na-yoon caught her breath and looked around. Only desolate shrubbery and weeds surrounded her. It felt as if what had just happened was a dream. So, what's up with that robe? Yi Young-han pointed at her. What are you talking about? Che Na-yoon tilted her head. What robe? The one on top of you. What are you talking about? Che Na-yoon looked down at herself. She saw the cloth covering her, a mysterious robe as soft as silk yet as hard as armor, as heavy as steel yet as light as a feather. Whoa, it's a level 7 item! Huh? Hearing Yi Young-han's excited cry, Che Na-yoon checked the robe's item description in a daze. Level 7 robe crafted by a master craftsman. Level 7 shock absorption. Level 6 resizing. Level 6 magic power resistance. Level 6 haste seal. Level 5 low-grade magic power amplification. It really was a level 7 robe. Seeing this, Che Na-yoon realized what happened wasn't just a dream. Che Na-yoon recalled a faint memory from the robe. Wait just 3 years. Kim Hajin whispered softly to her groggy consciousness before a warm healing energy enveloped her. Hey, where'd you get this? Do you want to sell it to me? Why don't you trade it for mine? Shut up. Che Na-yoon pushed Yi Young-han away and got up. A robe like that doesn't suit a longsword user like you, but it's perfect for a brawler. As Yi Young-han kept blabbering, Che Na-yoon glared at him before putting on the robe. 3 years. He said to wait 3 years. But I'm not going to keep waiting. Even if I have to use my family's power, I'll uncover the truth myself, go back to you, and return this robe. I'm telling you, this is perfect for a brawler. I'll give you my entire savings. My entire savings. Oh, I also have an effective goods selector I haven't used. I'll add that on top. Geez, go away, you leech. I opened my eyes slowly to a fancy ceiling. Red background, gold embroidery. It was probably the special compartment ceiling. You're up? A husky voice woke me from my drowsiness. I tilted my head slightly. As expected, Chuck Jung-young was standing there. Ugh, my head! I clutched my throbbing head. What happened? What do you mean, what happened? Chuck Jung-young held up a book. Level 1 Ultimate Skill Acquisition Book, Energy Blast. From the looks of it, Mystery Shuffle had ended. You slept through it, weakling. Oh, you got the Energy Blast. Energy Blast. It was the skill everyone knew from that one TV show. Although it sounded simple, it wasn't to be underestimated. As its name suggests, Energy Blast used energy, both magic power and physical power. It was a high-class skill, fully deserving of the ultimate skill status, and could display heaven-shocking power depending on the user. Why, you want it? No, you should learn it. Someone like Chuck Jung-young is the perfect fit. I couldn't even imagine his Energy Blast. Me? Yes, it'll be amazing in your hands. But to my surprise, Chuck Jung-young looked at the skill book, then shook his head. It doesn't suit me. Though he said that, he still put the skill book in his inventory. I guess I'd be seeing him shouting, "Energy Blast!" very soon. Ah! Then I remembered how I came to faint. Of course, that meant I remembered the words I said to Boss. The shock she must have felt was intense for her to make me faint instantly. It was probably too late to make excuses. I quickly sat up. Where's Boss? Outside. Outside? On the balcony. Chuck Jung-young pointed to the right corner of the special room. The compartment with 3 bedrooms and a living room also had a balcony. I looked at the door with the sign, balcony, above it. Boss was beyond the door, staring at the scenery. I walked over slowly. Knock, knock. I knocked and waited for a reaction. But she didn't respond even after a long time. Knock, knock. Still no response. I opened the door without waiting for her permission. Boss was sitting on a stool on the balcony watching the night sky. I carefully sat down next to her and looked up at the same scenery. The moon was hidden behind dark clouds.
Not a single star was in the sky. Boss was staring into total darkness. "Boss." I called her, but she didn't reply. "Boss." I called again. Still no reply. "I'll call you until you answer me." Only then did her shoulder flinch. She asked, still looking at the sky, "What?" It was just a single word, but I could feel her distress. I chose my words carefully and asked something ordinary first. "How long was I asleep?" "About a day." That's pretty long," I thought, looking outside again. The scenery changed with the train's movement. Though the sky was only darkness, a mystical landscape unfolded below. Passing by illusional scenes that couldn't exist on Earth, the train would soon climb to the 26th floor. From then, it would be Kim Suho's turn to shine. The rest of us would probably struggle to defeat even a weak underling. The upper floors were a stage set solely for Kim Suho, the wielder of the Soli sword, and the true hero who followed the path of righteousness. While I was thinking about the future scenario, Boss suddenly asked, faking nonchalance, "Do you remember what happened before you fainted?" But a hint of anguish and distress lingered in her voice. I nodded silently. "How long have you known?" "It's been some time." Boss fell silent. It looked like she couldn't say what she wanted. So I tried to answer the question she swallowed in her heart. "On the 20th floor, my doppelganger said, 'Find the cause of my loneliness.' It resonated with me deeply. The synchronization from that meeting linked me to Kim Chun-dong and affected my subconscious. Of course, I had no plans to explain this to Boss. "I see." "Yes, and the Kwang-o incident." I brought up the Kwang-o incident. At that moment, the only source of light appeared in the sky, a single star. I must be its sole survivor. As I said that, a strange sensation came over me. Although I was speaking, it felt like I wasn't. Because of this, I stopped and stared at Boss. I had stayed by Boss a long time. We shared all sorts of experiences and feelings. I feel like I understand what she's feeling now. She was scared. Boss was rarely flustered, but now she was scared. From this tiny reaction, I could guess what likely happened. It fit the plot as well. Boss was probably the one who killed Kim Chun-dong's parents. As soon as I reached that conclusion, my body began to heat up. A spark of ember blazed inside me. However,
No matter what Boss did in the Kwang-o incident, this wasn't my feeling. This world wasn't a novel, and I wasn't a character in a novel. I was Kim Hajin, not Kim Chun-dong. As such, I refused to accept feelings that weren't mine. I won't hate Boss just because of it. I simplified many things into one sentence. I didn't fault her for killing Kim Chun-dong's parents. I didn't care if it came off cold. Even if it seemed forced, I planned to push forward. I no longer wanted to lose the relationships I built and the people I came to meet. Boss must have been young back then, too. With both hands, I grabbed Boss's small, cold, trembling hand. "So don't feel guilty because of it." Boss tried to pull her hand back, but I didn't let go. I squeezed it tightly and kept it in my hands. Then I unleashed Stigma's magic power. Stigma's magic power rose softly and healed Boss's hands. 2 streaks of stigma flowed out, erasing the scars and calluses on her hands. Boss looked at me with wide eyes. "There's one thing I want to ask, though." I looked into her eyes. "What's your name?" And I asked for the greatest trust she could offer me. Was it too sudden? Boss stood blankly, dazed. After a long time, she asked with a quivering voice, "Name?" "Yes, I'll keep it a secret from the other members." I vaguely remember hearing Belle call her name. In fact, I already knew it. But the important thing was to hear it from her personally. It's so sudden." Boss looked at me with shaking eyes. Then she looked up with determination. A lone star shone in the sky. Byung. Byung. It's a single character? Boss nodded silently. I smiled. It's a pretty name. No. After a firm no, she hesitated. Was she trying to tell me her last name too? I looked at her, slightly nervous. Boss took a deep breath and, in a quiet voice, told me to keep this an absolute secret. My last name is... Yes? But she mumbled too quietly for me to hear. What's your last name again? Hearing me ask again, Boss sighed. It's Yi. Yi. In other words, her full name was Yi Byul. It's an ugly name, right? Now that I knew her full name, I would probably write Yi Byul grumbled, if this were a novel. Of course, in the real novel this world was based on, I would never have reached this point because I had stopped writing. No, it's a pretty name. I smiled faintly. Then Yi Byul-shi? Don't. My name is Kim Hajin. Hearing this, Boss furrowed her brows. Do you think I don't know that? No. I shook my head. It's just that I don't want you to forget it. The dark clouds in the sky drifted away, and a white moon radiated its light upon us. Under the cold moonlight, Boss's disheveled hair, dark circles, and exhausted skin came into view. Just how much distress did she suffer in a day? Feeling sorry, I formed a comb with Aether. Let me comb your hair. It's been a while. Boss nodded and entrusted her body to me. I stood behind her and gently combed her long hair. However, her body was stiff. Seeing that she was still agonizing over her guilt, I suddenly had a mischievous thought. It might seem rude, but we were technically the same age. She could surely take this as a joke. I cleared my throat and whispered in her ear. How is it, Byul? At that moment, to my surprise, Boss reacted strongly and fiercely. To describe her motion, it was like a fish leaping out of water. Her movements were too powerful for a mere fish, but that's what it was like. 4 days later, 8-3F, Krevan's eastern castle walls. With most of the rankers having left Krevan for the upper floors, Krevan's situation turned for the worse. The outer walls had fallen, and there were fewer players to combat the more powerful monsters. To worsen matters, there was even internal political strife among the Atalos royal family caused by the crown prince being poisoned to death. Soldiers, line up! Even in such a situation, Rachel did her best as Krevan's special army commander. She healed wounded players and soldiers with the help of dozens of elementals, blocked large-scale attacks with barriers, and unleashed sword strikes and elemental attacks left and right. Without Rachel, monsters would have already reached the heart of Krevan. Things aren't looking good. We'll have to abandon the outer post. This was Ah-Hae-in's advice. Ah-Hae-in was already preparing to recall her divine beast. Although the black turtle performed magnificently in battle, it was exhausted by the endless waves of attacks. If this continued, defeat was only a matter of time. Rachel clenched her teeth. She hated the current situation. As soon as the crown prince was assassinated, she posted on the community asking for help as the Atalos royal family was in a state of emergency. However, despite the debt owed to Krevan, the rankers didn't move. Even non-ranking players raced to the 20th floor after learning its basic rewards were unique skill books and ultimate skill books. Commander Rachel? Ah-Hae-in spoke again, but Rachel shook her head. We've wasted our efforts if we can't protect this place. Since we can't expect reinforcements from the west, the east, or the royal family, monsters will reach the city and cause a massacre. At least half of the eastern side will be destroyed. Ah-Hae-in couldn't say anything. The girl, raised with responsibilities to shoulder, now tried to bear the burdens of the weak, not realizing she was still a child. Ah-Hae-in wasn't sure whether to call her immature or overly mature. Hajin sighed, and Rachel opened her messenger and quickly typed a message. Hajin see, Krivan is under threat. But she stopped before sending it. She had already received too much help from him. She didn't want to inconvenience him further. She tried to turn off her messenger. No, she tried to turn it off. To her dismay, she accidentally clicked the send button instead. I wasn't even finished writing, she thought. However, the endless flood of monsters gave her no time to correct her mistake, and she was forced to call her elementals to fight. A life and death battle ensued. Then, 15 minutes later, a huge shadow suddenly descended on the blue sky. What the? The shadow covered the entire eastern castle wall region. The blazing sunlight disappeared, and all soldiers, including Rachel, looked up. What is that? There, they saw a monstrosity. Zzz! Janikalepis support battlecruiser operational. In Krivan's lofty sky, a giant vessel shot up, covering the sun. Commencing airstrike on Ship Commander command. Artillery appeared on the deck of the ship. Rachel couldn't tell if they were friend or foe, but she soon breathed a sigh of relief as the vessel began to rain fire down upon the monsters. They were not mere magic bullets, but cannon fire and lasers with highly concentrated magic power. The 8th floor's monsters were easily swept away by the fruit of science and magic crafted to combat the 16th floor's demons. The train was still running.
There were other events after the mystery shuffle, but most didn't require players to participate. During this time, I stayed in the special compartment and focused on making Medea's dress. Before I noticed, the train had arrived on the 21st floor. 21F, Card Kingdom. The 21st floor was a residential area where everything happened through the power of cards. Technically, this place, the Card Kingdom, was a homage to a certain TV show where cards materialized and came to life. The train would stay here for 4 days, so I went out for a quick tour. Pinnacle Grade Card Shop. My first destination was the Pinnacle Grade Card Shop. I came with Chuck Jung-young, who was itching for something exciting after staying on the train for so long. Do we have to buy something like this? Countless cards were on display inside the luxurious shop. Choke Jung-young furrowed his brows as he stared at the cards. Isn't it fun? Players need cards to stay on the 21st floor. Certain cards will be very useful for players. I was curious how the co-author materialized the brief notes I wrote in my settings book. Since the train would stay here for 4 days, I decided to make the best use of my time. Random card box. Wow, another random box, this goddamn world. At that moment, Choke Jung-young said something that instantly grabbed my attention. Random box? I ran up to him with sparkling eyes. Grade 1 random card box. Price 40,000 TP. Contains 4 cards that are intermediate grade or above. Players can only buy a maximum of 5 boxes. Here I found the gambling and luck I loved so much. Give me 5 of these. What? 5? Ignoring Choke Jung-young's shocked remark, I paid 200,000 TP and sat down at a table in the shop. Crazy. You're crazy. You really paid 200,000 TP for these things? Shut it. Don't come crying to me about being envious later. Now, let's see. I slowly opened the boxes.
Chapter 230. Golden beams of light burst from the random box as soon as I opened it. Whoa! He must have gotten something good! The nearby NPCs exclaimed as I looked inside the box. I froze. The first card was incredible. On this floor, all cards were ranked from 1 star to 8 to 9 star, and my first card was an 8 star. Bahamut's Red Dragon. Monster. 8 star. Summons the Red Dragon of Bahamut to attack your opponents. 7-star defense. The Red Dragon can defeat any opponent whose attack and defense are lower than its own. Can be summoned 3 times. This card let me summon the Red Dragon. I could probably just throw the card in the air and the dragon would appear. At first, it seemed great, but on second thought, it wasn't that useful. Light-attributed dragons, like the Light Dragon or Azure Dragon, could be handy, but the Red Dragon was almost powerless in the latter half of the tower arc. What is it? Because I was staring into the box without saying anything, Chuk Jung-young grew curious. I said, "What is it?" I ignored him and focused on the other cards. The odds must have been low, as I only drew 4 other 8 to 9 star cards, even with my luck. But one of them caught my eye. Card Conversion. Active card, 8 star, effective, good. Can convert a total of 10 items into cards regardless of their level or type. Converted items are treated as effective goods and can materialize anytime, anywhere with no restraints. Once an item is converted, it will remain a card forever. Card Conversion. An 8-star card glowed gold. It was an active card that could turn any item I owned into a card. The most important part was, converted items are treated as effective goods. Its effect was similar to the mysterious pouch I got from Kedrick, but with this card, I could turn up to 10 items into effective goods. Damn, you're gonna have all the fun by yourself. I wasn't concerned about Chuk Jung-young's grumbling. I took out 2 level 9 Dark Ore arrows and 1 level 11 Athena's Moonlight arrow from my inventory and immediately tried to use card conversion on them. Before you use your card, please set your card activation gesture. This unique gesture can only be set on the 21st floor. Only a player who has reached the 21st floor can activate cards. Please set a motion or make a short sound. They have something like this? I thought for a moment and decided on a finger snap. Snap! I snapped my fingers. A strange current shot up from the card, enveloped the 3 arrows, and turned them into 3 cards. Level 9 Dark Ore arrow, card, effective good. Level 11 Athena's Moonlight arrow, card, effective good. Huh, what was that? Hey, shop owner, give me a random box too. Seeing what I did, Chuk Jung-young stepped forward with a laugh. He bought a random box for 40,000 TP, while I continued checking the card information. Last Moonlight of the World. Active card, 8-star, effective, good. A fragment of moonlight from the end of the world cut off by the final night. It grants a special effect to sword-type weapons. Light attribute infusion, or enhancement. Technique infusion, Moonlight Slash. Miracle tea house that suddenly appeared one day. Space summoning, 8-star, effective good. A mysterious tea house that can never be found when sought, appearing only when not sought. The tea it sells has miraculous effects. Summons the mysterious tea house to a place of your choice. The tea sold in this tea house has special effects. Can be summoned 3 times. Story of a legend on the mural. Person, 9-star, effective good. A part of a legend manifests to assist you. These 4, including card conversion, were the only useful ones. The rest were trap cards, one-time weather converters, and monster summoning cards. Still, the average grade was 6-star, which was pretty high. God damn it! Did these guys scan me? I turned my head toward the cursing. Chuk Jung-young was looking at a card the size of his finger, shaking his leg in discontent. It was a funny yet sad scene, so I gave all my leftover cards to him. At that moment, I received a call on my smartwatch. Ship Commander, the mission has been completed. I sent the battlecruiser out to obliterate the calamities on the 8th floor. Good job. I was extremely satisfied. The battlecruiser from the 15th floor had annihilated the calamities on the 8th floor. It was all thanks to the revolutionary technology called floor teleportation, developed by Jen Fago, the AI of the Genkelope's vessel, about 2 weeks ago. The development cost was almost 1 million TP. I had to invest not only my profits from the vessel, but some of my private assets too. But in the end, it was worth it. Oh, by the way, how are other things going, Jen Fago? Research on starlight laser, converting the light from a star into a laser beam, is 50% complete. Floor teleportation was already revolutionary, yet Jen Fago had even more to offer. I nodded in satisfaction. We will need another 1 million TP in the near future. Really? Yeah, I got it. The money talk was about to begin, so I ended the call quickly. Oi, what exactly can you do with these stupid cards? Chuk Jung-young asked as he gathered the cards I gave him. They also have dungeons and missions here. Didn't you read the pamphlet? Do you think I would? In the original story, the 21st floor was summarized in only 3 sentences. I didn't plan to stay here long, but this place was interesting, just based on its settings. Players could enter dungeons and defeat monsters to turn them into cards. They could then summon the monsters and set out on adventures together. Doesn't it excite the inner child in you? There is also a tournament. Suddenly, a nameless NPC approached. What? A tournament? With these cards? Yes, a tournament called Local Fighter is held in the 8 provinces of the kingdom, and their winners participate in the grand final at the Royal Palace. The prize for Local Fighter is 100,000 TP and 1 million TP for the grand final. The NPC was probably here to tempt us. Even Chuck Jung Young widened his eyes at the prize money. 1 million TP. 1 million TP. I could participate in the tournament with Spartan's help. Spartan had recently awakened another authority, teleportation. I should be able to win the tournament easily while traveling back and forth during the competition. The winner of the tournament is also awarded a skill book related to the cards. As soon as the NPC finished, the shop door slid open. At the same time, a cute, childlike voice came in. "Wow, this is so good! I'll have to get some more before we board the train later." The voice belonged to Aileen, and next to her was Jin Se-yun. They entered the shop, Aileen with a chicken skewer in hand, and Jin Se-yun looking through a pamphlet. "First, we'll need to purchase some cards here." "Why?" "It looks like they'll be useful later." Yeah?"
Num num. Aileen finished chewing and continued. "Anyway, are you sure that the final floor is the 30th floor?" "Shh! Miss Aileen, your voice is too loud." "And why do I need to be quiet? There's nothing you can do even if you know." So they already figured out that the 30th floor is the final floor. I got up from my seat. "Let's go, Chuck Jing Young. We're leaving through the back door." Chuck Jing Young glared at Aileen in discontent, but got up reluctantly. When we got outside, Chuck Jing Young muttered, "Why do I want to pick on that brat every time I see her? Just seeing that hamster girl breathe makes me feel irritated." Essence of the Straits office building in Seoul, South Korea. Yu Yen-ha immersed herself in work the moment she left the tower. Thanks to the special skill, thought circuitry, which she learned in the tower, her performance was quicker and more accurate than ever. Now, it took her only half a day to finish work that used to take 2 days. Fresh ideas kept popping up in her head. At times, she was as cunning and sly as a fox. At others, as bold as a tiger. As a result, Essence of the Strait firmly consolidated its position as the #1 guild, and its subsidiaries, SH Agency, Essential Armory, Essential Research, Essential Pharmacy, etc., were thriving as well. She could feel that the Essence of the Strait was now being watched by the entire world. Yu Yen-ha put down the newspaper with a small sigh. Magazines and newspapers were scattered on her desk. Goguk Times Person of the Year, Yu Yen-ha. The biggest media outlet in the world, Goguk Times, had selected Yu Yen-ha as the Person of the Year, and her face was on countless magazine covers. Kyung Chen, top 100 richest people in the world. Next was Gyung Chen, unrivaled in economics. Gyung Chen included her in their top 100 richest people in the world. Not only did Essence of the Strait's stock price skyrocket, but Yu Yen-ha also legally inherited some of her mother's real estate. Naturally, her wealth was astronomical. The chief officer of Essence of the Strait aims for world supremacy. Yu Yen-ha, Korea's Amazonas. Essence of the Strait, the most well-respected guild and corporation in the world. How did Essence of the Strait's global team capture the hearts of Japan and Europe? Most of the media was busy flattering her, but the article she had just read was different. Violet Times. Featured Article 7. Fenrir, the Lotus Killer. Not long ago, the news that Fenrir had murdered Black Lotus became the talk of the town both inside and outside the tower. The ferocity of the wolf, who uses the familiar yet unfamiliar gun, shocked everyone. Fenrir, known as the greatest beneficiary of the tower, is currently being held in check by the media and the guild cartels. No heroes want to be killed by a mere gun. They don't want to become like soldiers in World War I, World War II, the Korean War, or ordinary people of modern times. They don't want to feel threatened by a magic bullet that costs only 200,000 won each. But if a bullet penetrates their hearts, it will not be stopped by their status or strength. At least, Fenrir's bullet won't. It was a featured article about Fenrir by the Violet Times Information Agency. The article outlined Fenrir's strengths in detail yet terrifying ways, ending with a sarcastic tone that presumed heroes would continue their shameful acts out of fear of Fenrir. Tss. She knew Violet Times had an anti-guild bias, but an article like this, it would definitely start a fire even as there wasn't one. It was so noticeable, too, being on the front cover. In any case, Fenrir was a complete celebrity now. Thanks to his new status, his past assassinations of djinns, and the fact that he had received a djinn hunting license from certain nations, including the USA, were revealed to the public. Yu Yanha rubbed her thankle as she looked over the articles filling the hologram. Fenrir was the one who single-handedly destroyed Solomon Djinn Cartel. The ultimate death sentence. His bullets are effective even at a 10-kilometer range. Magic barriers in any type of physical defense are ineffective against them. Fenrir's longest shooting range is reported to be 14 kilometers. Fenrir's past achievements surfacing one by one, they are the traces of a monster. Many articles like this gained popularity, and now not only djinns but also heroes were afraid of Fenrir. Of course, there were many heroes who were no different than djinns. Many people assumed that once the tower climbing ended, Fenrir would start targeting corrupt heroes as well as djinns. Yu Yanha too presumed as much. If Kim Hajin held a grudge, it would be against people, not just djinns. Tuk-tuk. A knock interrupted her thoughts. She quickly cleared the newspapers and threw her energy drink in the trash. Come in. The whole cleanup took only 2 minutes. She tidied herself and invited the guest in. Kick. Team leader Yu Yanha. Huh? An unexpected guest entered. Che Na-yoon. With a small smile that couldn't hide her determination, Che Na-yoon walked in and stood before her. What's up, Na-yoon? I thought you were in the tower. I'm here to hand this in. Che Na-yoon handed something to Yu Yanha. It was an envelope that read, Leave of Absence. What's this? It's exactly what it looks like. I'm taking some time off. Eh? Why? Yu Yanha's question was instinctive. She just wanted to know why. But the answer that followed made her heart sink. I'm going to start a serious investigation. Investigation? Yeah, about the incident involving my brother. I feel like I've been trying to manage everything on my own for too long. I'm thinking of asking other members of my family for help as well. Her mind froze at those words. Even thought circuitry which had been stimulating her brain became useless. Well, in truth, it didn't. She quickly regained her senses, began thinking, and reached a conclusion. The Che family hid Che Ji-yoon's body because the evidence that he had become the host of a devil was on his body. That was also why they blamed the djinns and neglected a thorough investigation. So, it was unlikely the Che family would help Che Na-yoon, or they might blatantly deceive her. However, if anyone could discover the truth, it would be Che Na-yoon, the only heir to the Che family and the apple of Che Ju-chel's eye. She was perhaps the only one who could dig deep into the secrets without being threatened by Che Ju-chel. Na-yoon, I finished thinking. I will lend her the tools she needs. With these, Che Na-yoon could uncover the truth herself. The most crucial evidence would be Che Ji-yoon's body hidden somewhere. What? Of course, it would be a lie to say she wasn't worried about how Che Na-yoon would react to the truth. But Che Na-yoon must have grown strong enough to make this decision. She should be able to withstand the truth, however cruel it might be. I want to help. Huh? No, I'm fine on my own.
I'll lend you the best informants and essence of the strait. You can even use magic contracts to keep them quiet if the truth is too hard to reveal. Yu Yanha immediately decided to lend Chai Nan her best informants. To convince Chai Nan, who was now deep in thought, Yu Yanha quickly glanced over the list of names. First up was Kim Hosep. Kim Hosep. He's the most valuable agent in this day and age when technology is everything. Just his salary was 50 billion won. He also received other bonuses like games and anime before they even hit the market. As expensive as he was truly the centerpiece of Falling Blossom. Still, Yu Yu Hena didn't hesitate to hand him over to Chainan. The train to the 26th floor. We passed through the 22nd and 23rd floors on the train. In fact, we weren't even aware we'd arrived at either floor because the 5 of us were in my waiting room instead of the train compartment. "How come Hajin's waiting room is so comfy?" Jane asked with a drowsy voice as she lay on the special couch I crafted. "Because I put a lot of effort into decorating and improving the place," I explained, turning my attention to the finished dress. Level 13, Medea's Violet Dress. This Level 13 dress was made with violet silk and jewels, both Medea's favorites. It was born from the combination of Aether's aesthetic eye, Young Dwarf's dexterity, and Stigma's magic power, a true masterpiece that reached Level 13 based on beauty alone. "Wow, it's so pretty! Giving it to that crazy woman would be such a waste." "I know I'm asking a lot for it." "Yeah, you never imagined she would actually agree to give you 40% of prestige." I smiled at Jane and called Spartan. Spartan flew over and sat on my shoulder. "Take me to the VVIP conference room on the 15th floor." "See you soon, Hajin." "Be safe." After nodding to Jane and Boss, Spartan and I teleported to a different area of the tower. 15F, Genkalope's vessel. I was back on the 15th floor. In front of me was the excited Medea. "Yad, you here? I've been waiting for you." Medea smiled modestly and approached me nervously. Yeah, let me show you the dress first." I floated the dress in the air using Stigma. The dress was stunning, even to me. A piece of art too beautiful to wear fluttered in the air. Medea was completely bewitched. This is my dress." "And your side of the deal?" "Here." Mesmerized, Medea handed me a piece of paper. It was the contract specifying that Medea would hand over 40% of prestige to me. "Would you like to activate the contract?" "Of course." I clicked yes. I heard a strange sound and looked back. Medea was taking off her clothes with magic, trying to put on the dress right away. She was completely possessed. I quickly averted my gaze, but I could still see her from the corner of my eye. Wow! Soon after she finished changing, she let out a joyful exclamation. I looked back, without thinking. And for a moment, my heart almost stopped. She was truly the enchantress from myth. Medea in my dress was exceptionally beautiful. She wasn't overshadowed by the dress. Instead, they created a wonderful synergy. Her presence seemed to shine with its own light, like the very definition of a halo. "How is it? Am I pretty?" I faked nonchalance and nodded at Medea. "I love the name of the dress more than anything, Medea's Violet Dress." With this, the phenomenon realm is not far. Medea clenched her fists in joy. "Well, then everything's taken care of, so I'll be on my way now." "Wait a minute, Tranim. Since you have bestowed on me such a marvelous dress, allow me to inform you of an interesting piece of news. I reckon you are aware that the Crown Prince of Crevon was murdered." "Yes, I'm aware. That was the 5th Princess of Crevon's doing, together with Lu Bu." I was surprised, but it made sense. The 5th Princess of Crevon, Araha, and the treacherous hero, Lu Bu, both of whom were ambitious enough to commit such a crime. "But why are you telling me that?" "Because you seem to possess sympathy for NPCs." Medea grinned. "Well, I'll keep that in mind, but right now I'm almost at the 24th floor and don't have time to deal with that. Anyway, I'm going now." "Yes, Tranim, I wish you luck. Please come back safely." Medea saw me off with noble manners, holding her dress up slightly and bowing in classic style.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like the video. Have a suggestion? Let me know in the comments.